Fox News Radio, I'm Kathleen Maloney. Shots fired at a home in Washington State. 4 people and the gunman dead. Fox News Radio's Jessica Rosenthal with a live report.
And Kathleen, the Mason County Sheriff tweeted that they were responding to a home in Belfair, which is about 30 miles west of Seattle, after getting reports that 4 people had been shot. The man who called 911 was inside the home and engaged in a standoff with sheriff's deputies. The SWAT team responded. Negotiations started with the man in the home. The status of the 4 people shot wasn't clear, but about 4 hours after first responding, the Mason County Sheriff said all 4 people inside were dead. The gunman also apparently shot and killed himself. There was one survivor, though, a young girl who has been taken to a hospital. Kathleen.
Thanks, Jessica. The Kansas factory worker who killed 3 people and injured 14 had been served with a protective order that authorities think may have set off the attack. Cedric Ford, killed by police chief in a shootout inside XL Industries in Heston. An investigation now underway.
Agents inside XL Industries are processing the crime scene, photographing and marking and collecting evidence.
Special FBI agent Eric Jackson. The gunman was armed with an assault rifle and a handgun. Cedric Ford had several convictions in Florida in the past 10 years. President Obama says the nation cannot become numb to mass shootings that are happening too often.
Right now, this Congress may not have any appetite to do something about it, but we need one that does.
The president speaking in Jacksonville, Florida, offering condolences to the victims and families affected by last night's shooting in Kansas. Stocks closed flat after a strong week. The Dow losing 57 points, S&P down 4, NASDAQ up 8. Oil prices also dipping, now under $33 a barrel. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I might look like an adult, like a person who could possibly be a parent, but I have no idea how to talk like one. And everyone knows that if you want to be a parent, you have to sound good when you say things like, "Don't make me turn this car around," or "because I said so," or "don't make me come back there." I don't even really know what those things mean, but I know that I actually believed my parents when they said them to me. How did they manage to sound so convincing? Here we go. "Don't make me come back there." Oh, no, that's not tough enough at all. Kids can sense weakness. "Don't make me come back there." Ooh, yeah, that's better. In fact, that kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to listen to you practice your dad voice. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
In the GOP presidential race,
I am proud to be here to endorse Donald Trump for President of the United States.
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie saying Trump is the Republican who can beat the Democrats in November.
This was an endorsement that really meant a lot.
The GOP frontrunner in Texas, Governor Christie, dropped out of the GOP presidential race after the New Hampshire primary. Another contest for the Democratic presidential candidates in South Carolina tomorrow, where polls show Hillary Clinton in the lead.
Before Bernie Sanders returned to South Carolina late today for one last stand ahead of Saturday's primary, he stayed focused on the Super Tuesday states he must have next week, using a rally in Minnesota to rip Hillary Clinton, accusing her of being too cozy with Wall Street.
Secretary Clinton said, well, she will do it if other people do it. I am prepared to release all of the transcripts I got for secret meetings in Wall Street. Here they are!
Sanders mocking her refusal to turn over transcripts of her pricey speeches to Wall Street firms.
Fox News' Ed Henry in South Carolina. The U.S. sends a "don't mess with us" warning.
For the second time in the past week, the U.S. military test-fired a ballistic missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. This Minuteman III missile was unarmed. It traveled 4,000 miles from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California to the South Pacific 30 minutes later. Officials tell Fox the military has conducted 15 such tests since 2011. They are intended to send a message to China, Russia, and North Korea that the U.S. has a capable nuclear arsenal. Russia says they plan to launch more missiles this year as well. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
14 reported dead in a terror attack in Somalia. Suicide bombers in cars targeting a hotel near the presidential palace in Mogadishu and a peace garden. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Whitfield Analysis. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from NGC1, and I want to thank you all so very much for joining me here tonight. The telephone number, if you want to call in, actually, if you want to call and leave a voicemail, is more like it, 941-564-5805. Again, if you want to call and leave a voicemail number, that number, once again, is 941-564-5805. You can follow me on Twitter at SamW_NGC, hashtag WA Radio Show. Well, folks, the 10th debate, the 10th Republican debate is now over. And, wow. That's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, is wow. We were not expecting, I was not expecting Marco Rubio to do as well as he did. I'm just going to say this right off the bat. He won the debate, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan of his, although if you catch my endorsement episode a while back, you will know that I did endorse Marco Rubio for the presidency, and I do feel that as of right now, he is the best qualified for the job. Now, currently in the polls, Rubio is unfortunately behind Donald Trump. He's tied with Senator Ted Cruz. And I want to break down for you what this election means, because, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to a critical juncture here in the primaries. Super Tuesday is coming up this coming week. There are 14 states that are holding primaries. So far, Donald Trump has won 3 out of 4 primaries. A couple weeks ago, in fact, not even a week ago, people, including myself, were saying on Twitter and other social media that whether we like or not, Donald Trump was going to be the nominee. After last night's debate performance, though, ladies and gentlemen, and I have audio clips to show a recap of how masterfully Rubio mastered everything. And trust me, he did do a great job of going on the offense, which is what he needed to do. After last night's debate, there's no doubt in my mind that Marco is probably the most formidable opponent in the debates and in the primary against Donald Trump as of last night. He stayed cool, he stayed collected, and he stayed elegant too, compared to Trump. Now, a lot of people in the Republican Party who support Trump, they don't care about elegance, right? We've talked about this on the show. We've talked about this on other things that we've done. We've talked about this on Google Hangouts. The reason why people like Donald Trump, it's quite simple. Donald Trump has the tough guy persona. He's seen more as like a strong arm type guy. You know, he's going to come in and he's going to fix crap. And he's going to make America great again. And he's this big macho manly man. And he's got a hot wife. And he's built this great company. That's what he says, at least. So Donald Trump has this image of being all-powerful. He has this image of just sticking it to the man while at the same time being the man. And a lot of conservatives, for some reason, like that. What a lot of other conservatives see, though, what I've seen from Trump over the past couple months is an arrogant jackass who name calls when he can't think of anything else to do. He's flip-flopped on so many different issues, it's not even funny. And again, I ask Trump supporters this question every single show, but I'm going to ask it again. What makes Donald Trump a conservative? I've tweeted out this question so many times. I've tried to be nice about it. That's all I want to know. What makes Donald Trump a conservative? What specifically in his past has he said that aligns with conservative principles at all? Or, better yet, people on his side are also claiming that he, some people are trying to compare him to Andrew Breitbart, that Andrew Breitbart and Ronald Reagan both, Ronald Reagan was a Democrat, and so was Andrew Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart was on the left, and so was Reagan. Yet they both became conservative champions and went on to become pillars in our movement. Reagan, obviously, with the Reagan Revolution of the 80s, and Breitbart really helped to launch the wave of new media in 2010, which is why programs like the Whitfield Analysis exist. It's why we have small independent journalism, conservative journalism, which has a chance to exist. But Reagan cited in the 80s that he became a conservative because the Democrat Party had departed to a realm that was unrecognizable. Reagan is famous for saying that he didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left him because they went to a far more left-reaching place on the political spectrum. Andrew Breitbart, on the other hand, has cited the fact that watching the Clarence Thomas hearings in 1991, he would be at home all day in between dropping off film scripts in California. That was his job. And so Breitbart would watch the hearings of he would watch the hearings of Clarence Thomas in between drop-offs, and he said it started to occur to him that the left was treating Clarence Thomas badly, and there's more to that, but in essence, it was the Clarence Thomas hearings that ultimately drove Breitbart to conservatism. Donald Trump, for whatever reason, ladies and gentlemen, does not seem to have a story that's exactly like that. When you ask a Trump supporter, or when Trump's been asked himself, how did he come to be a conservative? I've heard Trump give pretty much the same answer himself, which is, well, quite frankly, I've always been a conservative, and the Republican Party, they're just all full of fake politicians, and I made a call to a couple people who took my calls, and I said, hey, I want to run for president, and they decided that would be good. So we're running to make America great again, and that's my Donald Trump impression, folks. But as far as how Donald Trump became a conservative, he hasn't really said specifically himself, and yet Trump supporters would have us believe that he is the most conservative of the most conservative. He is so conservative that he out-conservatives Reagan, according to some people. And yet, he is the one man I honestly can't tell what his deal is. Because he says hugely contradictory things, like last night during the debate, he said that he would be neutral in the Israel-Palestine conflict. Well, Hillary Clinton said the exact same thing. In fact, we have audio of a couple of Trump's gaffes and of Marco taking him on. By the way, folks, if you do want to contribute to the chat, you can do so by logging on to Spreaker.com and by joining us in the chat room. It's really fun. Eric, our resident liberal, independent liberal, I should say, is joining in the chat room. Sup, losers, is what he says. Oh, we're not losing tonight, Eric. We're winning. And that's all we do, is we win. Or at least that's what Donald Trump thinks he's doing. But in all seriousness, folks, Rubio cleaned the house last night with Donald Trump. There's no denying. Even a couple of Trump supporters who I'm friends with admitted that Rubio was the clear victor. So for those of you who missed the debate last night, which I don't know how you could have missed last night's debate, but I do want to play some highlights of 3 key moments where Marco Rubio really shined and really exposed Trump for the fraud that he is. He tied Trump in knots, and this makes Trump really nervous. He didn't you could tell that he was getting agitated because, folks, Trump has been so focused on Ted Cruz for so long. I don't really think he was expecting Marco to hit as hard as he did. But Marco, again, I think did the best job of keeping the pressure on and making things happen. So this is Marco Rubio during last night's debate, absolutely pummeling Trump. And I'm going to play this once through, and then I'll play it through again and break down a couple key moments. Cut number 1, go.
His problem he's got is he really doesn't know about the lines. The biggest thing we've got, and the reason we have no competition, is because we have lines around the state, and you have essentially
we already mentioned that as part of my plan. I know what that is. But what else is part of your plan? So your only thing is to get rid of the lines around the states. What else is part of your health care plan?
What the lines around the states mean.
That's your only plan.
And it was almost done. No. You know what that does?
I'll
that
give
brings
him time
in,
of mind that he can tell us his plan.
Excuse me. That brings in competition. When you get rid of the lines, it brings in competition. So instead of having one insurance company taking care of New York or Texas, you'll have many. They'll compete, and it'll be a beautiful thing.
Right. And so that's the only part of the plan? Just the lines, the interstate competition?
No, the nice part about the plan, you'll have many different plans. You'll have competition. You'll have so many different plans.
But now he's repeating himself.
No, I'm not repeating. No. I don't repeat myself.
You don't repeat yourself.
Here's the guy who repeats himself. I don't
You repeat yourself every day.
I watched him, talking about repeating, I watched him repeat himself 5 times 4 weeks ago. And
I saw you repeat yourself 5 times 5 seconds ago.
I watched him melt down on the stage like I've never seen anybody. I thought he came out of the swimming pool.
I said, well,
let's talk about your plan.
I see him repeat himself every night. It says 5 things. Everyone's dumb. He's going to make America great again. We're going to win, win, win. He's winning in the polls. And the lines around the state. Every night. Same thing.
Senator Rubio.
I tell the truth.
Senator Rubio, we will have time to respond. If you would just let Mr. Trump respond to what you just posed.
Okay, so I do want to pause it there real quick. Folks, on the healthcare issue, this was a particularly bothersome thing because Trump keeps claiming that he's going to replace and repeal Obamacare. But yet, when it comes to his actual plan for healthcare, Trump basically has nothing. And when Rubio pretty much asked him what the plan was, Trump said something about we're going to drop state lines, so we're going to do healthcare state by state, and there's going to be competition between a bunch of different insurance companies, and it's going to be great. So Rubio goes, okay, great, how do you plan on implementing that? And Trump basically repeats himself over and over and over again. And pretty much shames Trump into doing the exact same thing that Trump has criticized Rubio for, which is repeating himself. And keep in mind, we're only at 1 minute and 55 seconds into this clip. We still have 2 minutes and 57 seconds left. Yet, Rubio is going to continue to destroy Trump here 3 more times within this this little exchange here. So continuing on, cut number 2, go.
Plan now, right?
If you could talk a little bit more about your plan. I know you talked about
we're going to have many different plans because there's going to be competition.
Said it again.
There's going to be competition. There is going to be competition among all of the states and the insurance companies. They're going to have many different plans. To such an extent that our businesses cannot compete with them. Our workers lose their jobs.
So you make them in China and Russia.
You wouldn't know anything about it because you're a lousy
Well, I don't know anything about bankrupting 4 companies.
You bankrupted 4 companies. You know what?
I don't know anything about
you know what?
Starting a university. That was a fake university.
First of all,
a fake university.
That's called.
There are people that borrow $36,000 to go to Trump University, and they're suing him now. $36,000 to go to a university.
By the way,
that's a fake school.
And by the way,
and you know what they got? They got to take a picture with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump.
And by the way,
that's what they got for the $36,000.
I want to move on.
They actually did a very good job, but I've won most of the lawsuit.
Senator, I want to bring in
the lawsuit.
I want to bring in my colleague Maria Celeste.
Excuse me, hey, Wolf, let me ask you, am I allowed to respond to this?
You're allowed. You've been responding.
Okay, well, no, I haven't. I really haven't.
He's talked through the whole thing.
Here's the guy that buys a house for $179,000. He sells it to a lobbyist who's probably here for $380,000, and then legislation is passed. You tell me about this guy. This is what we're going to have.
Here's the guy that inherited $200 million. If he hadn't inherited $200 million, you know where Donald Trump would be right now? Selling watches in Manhattan.
Wrong. That is so wrong. We'll work on that. I took $1 million and I turned it into $10 billion. I borrowed $1 million.
Then release the tax return so he can see how much money he makes.
I borrowed $1 million. I turned it into $10 billion, more than $10 billion.
Thank you. I want to work on your projects illegally. You hired some workers from Poland.
I'm the only one of the states that's hired people. You haven't hired anybody.
Well, in fact, some of the people.
And by the way,
well, but hold on.
I've hired And by the way, I've hired tens of thousands of people over my job. You've hired
1,000 people
You've
from
had
another
nothing
company,
but problems
from another
with your
country.
credit cards, etc.
Let me say, let me finish this statement. This is important.
You haven't hired one
He
person
hired
in your life.
workers from Poland, and he had to pay $1 million or so in a judgment.
That's wrong.
That's a fact.
Totally wrong.
Well, people can look it up. I'm sure people are Googling it right now. Look it up.
Senator Cruz.
Trump Polish workers. You'll see $1 million for hiring illegal workers on one of his projects. Yeah, he did.
You know, it's interesting.
That happened.
I've hired tens of thousands of people over my lifetime. Tens of thousands.
Many from other countries instead of hiring Americans.
Be quiet. Let me talk. I've hired tens of thousands of people. He brings up something from 30 years ago. It worked out very well. Everybody was happy.
Paid $1 million.
And by the way, the laws were totally different. That was a whole different world.
Thank you.
But I've hired people. Nobody up here has hired
Senator
anybody.
Cruz.
All right, so Rubio pretty much took Trump to task on a number of different things, and Trump didn't like that. He took him to Cruz. He took him to task on healthcare. Trump did not like that at all. See, folks, the thing with Donald Trump is this is a man who is not used to being challenged in the debate at all, or in this arena. He bosses people around. This is the guy who was able to make Jeb Bush look like a wimp, and I hate to say it, but Jeb Bush kind of did become a wimp during this election cycle while he was still in. I no disrespect to Jeb himself, but if we're being honest, Jeb did come off as a wimp. This is a man who pretty much has a giant ego problem. He has the exact same ego problem, in my opinion, as Barack Obama has. People, and I don't say that lightly. You know, it's funny because Trump supporters always want to claim, you know, how much of a better candidate he is than Obama. And really, I don't see too many differences between the two. So, getting back to the debate, though, Rubio took Trump head on, which is really, folks, if there's anything that we've learned about these debates, if there's anything that we've learned from watching these debates, it's people wanted to know if Donald Trump was going to be challenged. Unfortunately, that's what these debates have become. Ever since Trump won the first one, these debates have pretty much come down to, is someone going to stand up against Donald Trump? Is Donald Trump going to actually be challenged? And in the past few debates, the answer has been no. All of the candidates have been very sheepish. They've all seemed very reluctant to stand down. Or to stand up, so they do choose to stand down instead. And so, Trump has taken 3 states, and he is the front runner for the GOP right now. Fortunately, I think the Republicans, I think Rubio in particular, finally got the message that he needed to stand up against Trump. So I'm really glad that he just went after Trump and stuck the knife in the back of Trump's back, I think. So following up with that, Rubio, I want to focus more on why I like Rubio and why I think Rubio is going to go places. A few weeks ago, I on one of my blogs, I said that Rubio has the panache of I think Rubio does have the panache of Trump. He has the strong, willed temperament, but he has the elegance of someone like Reagan or William F. Buckley Jr. He doesn't condescend people, but yet he does. He's not afraid to take people on, and that's what I love about him. He has a fiery Latin passion, which we've needed for so long during this primary cycle, I think. So Rubio was in Texas today for a rally early this morning, and he was talking about Donald Trump, and basically he just went after Trump, and he went straight for the jugular and basically said that Donald Trump is a con man and a con artist. Now I want you to listen very carefully to how Rubio handles these deals, these points, because this is really why I think Rubio is the best man for the job at this point. He's elegant, he's clear cut, and he can really motivate a crowd when he puts his mind to it. This is Rubio in Texas this morning. Cut number 1, go.
Thank you. Man, this is an important election. I'm so glad to be here in Big D. Everything's bigger in Texas. It's the only place that makes Florida seem small. Such a big place. So thank you for coming. This is a huge election. All right? It's as big as this crowd. This is how big and important this election is. That's why we're getting closer now. These votes are starting to count. What you're going to do on Tuesday is not a poll. It is a vote. It counts. And what we are being asked to choose is not just the future of our country. That is ultimately what this election is about. But also the future of the conservative movement. Of what it means to be a conservative in the 21st century. For 36 years, for 36 years, the conservative movement after the Reagan Revolution has been about limited government and about free enterprise and about a strong national defense. That was the Reagan Revolution. It changed the country in a way that re-embraced all of the principles that made us the greatest country in the world. But now, we are being asked to choose once again, what will it mean in the 21st century? So if the polls are to be believed, and the election results from some of these states continue to go, then we have to view what will the conservative movement be like if the front runner in this race right now, Donald Trump, is put in charge of the conservative movement. So last night we had a chance to talk about that. It's time to pull his mask off so that people can see what we are dealing with here. What we are dealing with here, my friends, is a con artist. He is a con artist. First of all, he runs on this idea that he is fighting for the little guy. But he has spent his entire career sticking it to the little guy. His entire career. All right? Every business that he's ever run that's gone bankrupt. I mean, this guy bankrupted a casino. How do you bankrupt a casino? How do you bankrupt a casino? All right, but when all of these other projects went bankrupt, you know the first people that didn't get paid? The electricians and the plumbers and the subcontractors. Some of them went out of business because he didn't pay them. He says he's fighting for the little guy. What about the students that signed up for Trump University? A fake school. A fake school. Some of them took out loans. They told them, go max your credit cards. $36,000. And at the end of the course, the thing you got was a paper certificate and a picture with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. He says he's fighting for the little guy, but in Florida.
Okay, the Trump University issue, that is one point that we have to bring up real real quick, folks, and I'm sorry I got close to the microphone there for a sec. But in all seriousness, the Trump University issue, ladies and gentlemen, is one that is deeply, deeply concerning. I'm not sure of the exact details on this quite yet, but from what I've read, Trump is going to have to go to court because it's suspected widely that this Trump University thing is fraudulent. At least that's what the press has been saying, and that's what a bunch of legal experts have been saying. Now, Ben Shapiro made a great point the other day on his website Daily Wire. Trump will be the only candidate to have. I mean, he'll be cross-examined during the primary, essentially, during this election cycle. And you don't think Hillary Clinton is going to use that to her advantage, folks? You don't think she's going to use the whole issue of Trump acting fraudulently for her own means? Of course she's going to do that. She's Hillary Clinton. That's what Hillary Clinton does. So, Rubio, I really wish he would have emphasized more on the Trump University. That's what I would have gone. That's what I would have stated directly, is that the Trump University thing has to be the worst talking point that Rubio has to be the worst I just lost my train of thought, folks. What was I going to say? The Trump University thing has to be the most damaging area for Trump so far. Yeah, say that. Try saying that 5 times fast. That's why I got tongue-tied there. And by the way, this is a guy who has had all sorts of different brands. He has had Trump steaks. He's had Trump water. He's had Trump air. Basically, I think the only thing that he has had is Trump computers or something like that. And all those businesses have gone bankrupt. So, again, I don't think he's really doing this because he's all interested in the presidency. He's doing this more for his own self-preservation. I want to go ahead and play a few more seconds of this Rubio rally before we cut to go to the next segment. But let's continue on.
In my home state right now, he is hiring workers from other countries because he claims no Americans will do those jobs. This is the guy that says he's fighting to protect the American worker. In Florida, there are 300 people that said, we'll take those jobs, Americans. He doesn't hire them. Instead, he brings in workers from abroad to do those jobs, and he goes on television saying, oh, we can't find qualified people to do that work. And there are qualified people raising their hands saying, we'll do that work. We have a guy that last night spent literally 30 seconds defending Planned Parenthood. He did it better than Harry Reid does it. This is what's trying to take over the conservative movement. It is time to open our eyes and see what's happening here. For the first time in 36 years, if Donald Trump is elected, the conservative movement will be headed up by somebody who says that when it comes to Israel and the Palestinians, he's not taking sides. Well, I'm taking sides. I'm with Israel. We had a guy yesterday that was saying on the stage, oh, if you don't support government takeover of health care, then you're in favor of letting people die in the streets. Well, I've heard that before in the Democratic debate. from Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. So it's time. The charade is up. This is a con job where he's going to Americans that are struggling, Americans that are hurting, and he's implying, I'm fighting for you because I'm a tough guy. A tough guy? This guy inherited $200 million. He's never faced any struggle. He's never faced. The other day he told somebody, a protester, I'm going to in the face. Donald Trump has never punched anyone in the face. Donald Trump was the first guy that begged for Secret Service protection. First guy. He's never punched anyone in the face. He inherited $200 million. I said it last night. If he had not inherited $200 million right now, he would be selling watches in Times Square or be doing one of those infomercials on Saturday morning where he promises to teach you how to flip properties, right? So we unmasked him last night. And let me tell you, it's time for you to unmask him as well. I bet you all know. You all have friends. You all have friends that are thinking about voting for Donald Trump. Friends, do not let friends vote for con artists. All right? So, you want to have a little fun? All right. What does Donald Trump do when things go wrong? He takes to Twitter. I have them right here. Let's read some. You'll have fun. All right, number one. Here's the first one. Lightweight Marco Rubio was working hard last night. This is true. The problem is, he is a chalker. And once a chalker, always a choker. I guess that's what he meant to say. He spelled choker, C-H-O-K-E-R, chalker. He called me Mr. Meltdown. Let me tell you something. Last night in the debate during one of the breaks, two of the breaks, he went backstage. He was having a meltdown. First, he had this little makeup thing applying, like, makeup around his mustache because he had one of those sweat mustaches. Then he asked for a full-length mirror. I don't know why, because the podium goes up to here, but he wanted a full-length mirror. Maybe to make sure his pants weren't wet. I don't know. Then I see him pacing back and forth, and then he's huddled in the corner talking to somebody. He's like waving his arms up and down, and the person's trying to calm him down. So, anyway. But I'm a chalker. All right. Next tweet. Leet-weight chalker Marco Rubio looks like a little boy on stage, not presidential material. He meant to say lightweight, but he spelled it L-E-I-G-H-T. So he got that wrong. Looks like a little boy on stage. It's not that I look like a little boy. I wouldn't even be the youngest president, but he would be the oldest president ever elected. And it's like an 8-year term, so you start to worry. All right. Last one. Wow, every poll said I won the debate last night. Now, this was him about himself, okay? Great honer. I think he meant to say great honor. I don't know how he got that wrong because the E and the O were nowhere near each other on the keyboard. Great honer. All right. So, here's what that's what I'm thinking. So, how does this guy, not in one tweet, 3 tweets, misspell words so badly? And I only reached 2 conclusions. Number one, that's how they spell those words at the Wharton School of Business, where he went. Or number 2, just like Trump Tower, he must have hired a foreign worker to do his own tweets. All right? So, guys, we have a con artist as the front runner in the Republican Party. A guy who has made a career out of telling people lies so that they...
Okay, folks, so we only have about 10 seconds or less. I'm going to analyze this clip because there is a reason for why I played it. I'm going to take a quick break, set up a new episode, and we'll be right back.